Welcome to Tales, Tunes, and Tomfoolery starring Jerry Springer, along with Gene Galvin and me. I'm Megan Hills. We're recorded live in front of a brilliant studio audience at the Folk School Coffee Parlor in Ludlow, Kentucky.
My daddy came home every day from there.
And now, here's Jerry Springer.
Oh, please don't get up. Please, honestly. Oh, my God. I'm telling you, what, 10,000 people here.
It's unbelievable.
How did we rent
Ludlow
this place?
It's unbelievable. Had to reconstruct the city for this.
And by the way, tonight,
Yes.
among these 10,000 people are Megan's mother and father. So can you
Yes.
dial back the liberalism just slightly?
Oh, for
maybe?
them, yes.
Yeah, because I think they're kind of maybe Rush Limbaugh-y or at least conservative,
Yes.
or more conservative than we are.
Yes, we're not balanced, but we'll try to be fair. We're unbalanced. Is
Check
what
this
we
out.
are.
You know we have the celebrity hotline?
Yes.
I swear, the people who are calling in, it's impressive. And the most recent one is Miley Cyrus contacted our celebrity hotline.
Miley Cyrus did not call this hotline.
Trust me, Miley Cyrus contacted us, and here's why.
What?
She needs your advice because I'm going to play this. Well, let's just play the message. David, can you play the message?
Hey, Jerry, this is Miley Cyrus. Listen, pretty pumped. Dating this awesome dude, Patrick Schwarzenegger. Turns out, though, his family's like way political. If I'm going to marry him, I got to learn how to be a political wife. Figured you knew something about that. So get me back when you get a second, Jerry.
Just asking you to call her back to give her
advice?
political advice because
Oh, she's
do you know
be
who
a
Patrick
Kennedy.
Schwarzenegger is?
Well, yeah, Arnold and Maria's son.
So you got the
And they're
Schwarzeneggers
marrying
and the
Miley
Kennedys.
Cyrus.
Yeah.
And she wants advice from me?
She wants advice from you. I'm first of all curious as to why she's calling you. Do you have...
Well, we go way back.
Now, you know I have this little thing here
He still
called
has
the
the lie
lie
detector.
The lie detector?
that tells... Well, I'm going to turn this on. Then I
Okay.
might ask you to repeat that. But anyway,
Our daughter Katie actually babysat Miley Cyrus.
well, now that's interesting. I have this on, and it so far...
And you didn't break into a lie yet?
No.
Then I'll keep going with it.
Okay.
Okay, what happened was, this was years ago, obviously. She was very young, and I took Katie, who likes country music, I took her to Nashville for the weekend. And while we're strolling around in Nashville, we see that Billy Ray Cyrus is going to be performing. Well, this is great. So Katie says, can we go? I said, sure, hon. So we go and we sit in the audience, and I guess before he came out, one of its people or whatever, they saw that I was sitting there, and so they came up to me and said, Billy Ray would like you to come backstage. He wants to meet you. And Katie's all excited in that, and I said, well, I don't know Billy Ray. Well, we go backstage, and sure enough, poor Billy Ray, he was a fan of the show, and his wife was a fan of the show. So he puts on the phone, and I talk to his wife backstage, and then he says, after the concert, will you come to our home? And, we'd like to have a drink or whatever.
So far, everything is the
Everything's
truth.
true?
This is not
This
gone
is
off.
all God's truth so far.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Well, hey,
So-
Jerry,
It'll go off
just
if
to
it's-
prove
yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Did you do a show today, your TV show, that you are proud of?
I am very proud of all the shows that I do.
Okay, say that. Okay, so it is working.
That's
We
BS
have
there
confirmation.
because that
It's
said
working.
that. Anyway, go on with your story about Miley Cyrus.
So he invited you back after his concert.
And I'm getting nervous. Katie's a young girl, and,
Yeah.
and, our daughter, and I'm in a strange place, and he lives like 45 minutes outside of Nashville. So he says, well, just follow us after the concert. So I'm driving through the backwoods, and all of a sudden we're going up this mountain. I mean, it's not like a suburban neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
It's real rural. And it's late at night. It's 11:30 at night, and, Katie should be getting to sleep. Finally, we come to their home, and there is Miley. And Katie babysat her.
Katie babysat for Miley Cyrus.
Okay, I'm going Brian Williams on you now. I'm exaggerating it. She was sitting in the living room with Miley, who was about 6 months old.
So they shared space in a room.
Right. And
Gotcha.
All right.
Billy Ray says to me, come on, I got these four-wheelers. Come with me. I want to show you something. So I get on this four-wheeler. I can't get on a four-wheeler unless it's when I'm going to the home. So I get on a four-wheeler. He's on a four-wheeler. He says, follow me. And we're going through the woods. up a mountain.
How long ago
and
was
it's
this?
pitch black. And honestly,
Achy
it was,
breaky heart
Achy
era.
breaky art era.
Yeah.
I cannot. I'm trying to picture you on a four-wheeler. It's just.
And now I'm getting scared because this was in the 19. This was
90s.
before we had cell phones. Seriously. So there was not a human being in the world knew where I was. My daughter isn't at home. No one knows where we are, what's going on. We get to the top of the mountain and there's this TP.
Really?
No, this is true because his background is Native American.
Yeah.
And then he says, come on, I want to show you something. And he says, come into the tent with me and all this. And I'm thinking, this is a bad headline.
This is going to end very
And then
badly.
there's a totem pole there, and he's very spiritual. So he's really serious about this, and I want to be respectful, but I'm getting nervous. And he says, you want to come inside? I said, well, no, I think maybe, Katie's back at the house there. So the end of that story is that he invited me to open for his concerts on tour. Oh. So I opened for Billy Ray.
So that's what happened to his
I didn't
career.
know that.
That's what it was.
And that
you
ended
ended
the
it.
career. And that
Completely
I've
ended
closed
it.
better careers than that. So now...
So now Miley is turning to you for advice.
Well, the reason she's turning to me is because my daughter, she was 6 months old, but she saw me.
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean, her eyes were open, and she was smiling. That wasn't gas. She was smiling. You can tell when a baby really recognizes
And
you.
admires and respects
And I
you.
think that's why she's calling. Why is she calling?
Well, she wants,
so essentially
she wants
now-
your advice. And so you're sort of like, there's a godfather. You're kind of like a god grandfather to her. And she's turning to you because you have a political background. You're
no one in my
mayor of
family
Cincinnati.
turns to me for advice.
Well,
they know you better.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's
this
true.
can't be good.
No.
So what is the advice?
Here's what I think we should do.
What do you want to do? This is
I
crazy.
think if David Pruce, our technical engineer, tells me we can do this, he seems to think we can, that we should call her. I have her phone number because I know people who know people. So I've got
You don't
her.
know anybody.
I have her
Let's
phone
be honest.
number.
Jane, what do you go to one of these websites?
Well-
You're the kind of guy that in Hollywood you take the bus ride to see people's homes.
Well, that's probably true, and I'm sure she does not know me from a bucket of paint, but nonetheless, I have her phone number. What I'd like to do is this. I'd like to call Miley Cyrus.
I'm not gonna call
Hope
Miley
she's
Cyrus.
there, answers the phone.
She'll call the police.
And we will, on the air, we could give some advice to
Yeah.
Megan, a young woman who's marrying into a political family.
A Kennedy family.
A Kennedy, not
Yeah.
just any political
Camelot.
family.
Yes, this is-
Into Camelot.
I don't see Miley Cyrus in Camelot.
Well, anyway, I think we should
Julie
get her
Andrews.
on the. Yeah, we should
She just
get her
needs to
on the
clean it up
phone.
a little bit.
And David, I've given David actually before
we're
we
really gonna
started.
call her?
He has the
We can't
number,
do that.
and we're going to dial that right now, and let's see if she answers.
what do
and-
I say?
Hold on. Well, we'll feed you some stuff.
Okay. Oh, jeez, I hope she's not.
It's ringing.
Oh, this is stupid. What if she does? What if she considers this harassment?
Hey guys, it's me, Miley. Leave me a message after the beep, and I'll get back to you whenever I can.
Okay, don't hang up your phone. Don't hang up the phone, David. Hi, Molly. I'm Gene Galvin, and
Megan Hills, and we're here with.
I'm Jerry Springer. Hey, Miley.
and
What am I saying? I expect her to answer me when I say, hey, Miley. How you doing? Wait, let her answer.
You got her answering machine, but so what could we tell her if she's marrying into this political family? Do you have any thoughts, Megan?
Maybe put some pants on. Be
Okay,
helpful.
start there. Start right there. That'd be
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
basic.
Yeah.
No, so advice for you because you're marrying into
Into a political
First of
family,
all,
the Schwarzeneggers.
lots of luck with
Yeah,
it.
lots of
yeah.
luck. If in fact you marry Patrick,
The
he seems
serious
like a nice
advice
fellow.
is keep your family private. Mm-hmm. Don't.
Also,
Yeah.
pants.
Pants.
Yeah.
too. Pants and private. Anything with a P. Pants and private.
Well, here's another one
What?
with Arnold Schwarzenegger as her
Oh,
father-in-law.
yeah. Don't follow him. Follow your mom.
Yeah,
well, because the
always-
mom's the Democrat.
Yeah,
Always
that's a
good
good
Oh,
point.
yeah.
And
Billy Ray wouldn't be a Republican.
Well, I don't think we don't know. But
Achy, breaky heart.
No, it sounds pretty Democrat, doesn't it?
That's a
That sounds-
Democrat.
Sounds pretty liberal.
Yeah. Democrats break hearts.
Hey, that's right.
Republicans aren't romantic.
Yeah, they've got the money. They've got
They
the money.
don't break any hearts. They don't, they can't be intimate.
Maybe she
They're
could-
Republicans. No, so
Maybe she could learn how to do a clean and jerk.
There we go, yeah.
Because Arnold's a weightlifter, so maybe if she learned how to do a clean and jerk, and it sounds like something she might already know how to do. I don't know.
She needs to put down some of that stuff that she's smoking too. She's really, really into publicly getting high in her concerts and
Oh, really?
answering. Oh yeah, yeah. So she's got to probably pull back on that a bit.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, gosh, Miley, hey, it's great to talk to you again.
What about the Peace Corps? She could join the Peace Corps. She could serve in Mongolia or Tanzania or something. Because remember, Sergeant Shriver, who would be her, God rest his soul, her grandfather, I guess, started the Peace Corps.
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah, you've got great advice.
And she should have called Angelina Jolie.
Meanwhile,
not this
how
one.
long is this machine?
Well, as long as we don't hang up, and she probably knows a lot of people, gets a lot of messages.
Yeah.
And so I have one more. The Kennedy family were sailors. They did a lot of sailing.
Yes.
JFK was a sailor up in
Teddy the Oiler.
Hyannisport.
Yes.
She should be careful when you jibe. The boom's going to come over your head. You got to duck if you're going to make a turn into the wind, attack into the wind.
Sail.
Yeah, you did. I saw you sail.
You saw me sail.
You took my sailboat, sailed it across the lake, and I said, do you know, you had your wife with you,
Yes.
and I said, do you know how to sail? And you
Yes.
said no. And then I wondered, how in the hell are you going to get back? Because you have to know how to sail to come back against the wind.
Eventually, the wind goes in another direction.
Yeah, wait till like Wednesday, you mean? If you
We
wait
came
maybe
back
4 days,
Wednesday.
you came back Wednesday.
We were back Wednesday. Well, Miley, thanks a lot.
Thanks, Miley.
We apologize.
lots
We are
of
so
I
sorry.
apologize. This was not my idea, but I hope things work out for you and
Congratulations.
And Patrick.
Thanks,
yeah,
Molly.
congratulations.
Congratulations. Jerry, we have Ian James here
Speaking of getting
at the
high.
table. Speaking
Yes.
of getting
Speaking
high.
of.
And Ian James is a spokesman for an organization called Responsible Ohio.
Responsible Ohio, that's like Fox saying fair and balanced.
You think well, on a marijuana issue, so you're quarreling with that?
Responsible.
Yeah.
No, I'm. Well, yeah, it's on the ballot this in November. Tell our listeners exactly what's on the ballot.
Sure, we're going to put the issue on the ballot for the November 2015 general election. It's a constitutional amendment in Ohio to allow 21 and older citizens and folks to purchase and consume and possess up to an ounce of marijuana. They'll be able to grow marijuana at home, 4 flowering plants. They'll be able to have medical marijuana as well. It sets up a 3-tier system. Not to belabor the details here, but essentially it's a very well regulated, tightly organized, taxed, tested system. Because the reality is in Ohio right now, just like in Kentucky, you can pick up your phone, you can call somebody, you can text, you can email, and you can have marijuana delivered to your house in 10 minutes, and that's faster than you get a pizza.
Yeah.
So we want to regulate it. We want to
doesn't
tax
last
it.
as long, though, does it?
Not as long.
You can't do that legally.
You can't do that
but
legally
you're saying just
now.
the economics of it.
It's here. It's now. It's happening. And in Ohio, we spend $120 million a year to enforce marijuana laws. When you look at the real needs that Ohio has in the state, we can better spend that $120 million every year on something else.
To a citizen of Ohio, if this passes, they may have possession of an ounce of marijuana.
Correct.
How much is that? How long does that last on a serious
Well, I think it just depends on what your consumption rate is. You know, if you're if you're
an ounce doesn't. I don't know anything about. I admit I don't. But how much is that going to last you?
Well,
because when I have cola, it's 8 ounces.
Yeah, I went to.
I get 8 ounces. I don't get 1 ounce. It's gosh, it's gone.
Right. I went to Ohio University, so an ounce back then in the 80s probably wouldn't have lasted that long. But I think for a lot of folks, an ounce lasts a very long time, unless, of course, you're a person with chronic illness. You've got Parkinson's. You're a veteran who served overseas.
Yeah.
And you have PTSD, or you have a child with epilepsy. Yeah. You know, this is a plant that actually does help people in a medicinal way, as well as, I mean, we just want to treat marijuana like alcohol.
Right.
You know, we've got people that drink alcohol. I'm not one of them, but there are a lot of folks that do, and they enjoy it and they do it responsibly.
If you want to make it legal, and I get that.
Right.
I'm late to the game, but I get it. So you want to make it legal. Why is there a 1 ounce limit? Initially, when it was illegal, it was a step to say only an ounce because you didn't want people coming in, dealers coming in and selling a lot. But if it's legal, what's the difference if someone wants to sell it?
We've got to start somewhere, and I think with Ohio, it's not a red state, it's not a blue state, it's a purple state.
Yeah.
And if you go much more than an ounce, if you go to greater quantities, you're going to have a problem. Now, I will say this, that with being able to grow at home, you'll be able to have in your house, in your possession, if you're 21 and older, you'll be able to have 8 ounces. So that may be more to your liking.
Well, it's more like Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
I don't like, I got to say, just for the record, I don't like Coke. I just like the way it smells.
So you're telling you've never smoked pot?
Joking aside, this is God's truth. I haven't. Now there's a reason for it. Because look, I'm not talking about morality or anything like that. I graduated college in June of 65. And I'm telling you, and I'm not the most naive person in the world, and it was college at Tulane University in New Orleans, so it isn't like it wasn't Liberty University with Jerry Falwell. You know, it was Tulane, it was New Orleans. The campus, we didn't smoke. Back then, you would have weekend beer parties. You'd have a keg and with the fraternity and the sorority and all that. It was that kind of stuff. But nobody was doing drugs on the college campuses in the early 60s. You know, certainly not where I was. So it wasn't like I was being straight and everyone else was having a great time. We never even thought about it. Now, that's June of 65. In November of 65, Lyndon Johnson has the big call-up for Vietnam. That is when all of a sudden marijuana became all of a sudden the favorite drug of lots of young people. That's when you started to have the draft getting out of control. That's when you started to have the big protests with the war. But in September of 65, when all that was starting, I was starting law school. Well, back then, you know, I went to law school at Northwestern. They told us, if anyone is caught smoking marijuana, you will not be admitted to the bar. So you can go to law school as long as you want, but you will not be admitted to the bar. I remind people that a few years later, this fella Ginsburg was nominated for the Supreme Court, and he literally had to drop the nomination for the Supreme Court, an incredibly bright guy, because he admitted when he was in college he smoked marijuana. So the times have changed. So therefore, no one in law school would even mess with that. You're not going to throw away your whole career.
Nobody at my university gave that message.
You didn't go to college. You went to yeah. You went to Xavier.
I did.
Oh, yeah, I'm talking about people who went to college.
Hey!
So it's a joke! It's a joke! It's a joke. I'm in Cincinnati. What, am I crazy? Yeah.
Hey, I knew two people. I was in Volunteers in Service to America after college, VISTA, started by Sergeant Shriver as well, by the way, as part of the Peace Corps. Two of the volunteers were blocked from becoming volunteers because they had some weed sent in an envelope, mailed a letter with some weed in it, smoked it, and got kicked out of there. Yeah. It was a different era, and you're right, it was just beginning to happen. And isn't it true, and we're getting into the history of marijuana, that's not really your thing, but Vietnam really brought a lot of weed smoking. First of all, there was a lot of weed in Vietnam, and the weed that I smoked came from Vietnam, a buddy of mine that brought it back in a sleeping bag, rolled up and mailed back home, and he brought back a huge amount.
Well, I've been to Nam, but we'll talk about that later.
Another time. Is there poll data saying this can pass?
There is poll data. We've been polling since September. We poll every week, and we find that 57% of Ohio voters want personal use of marijuana.
Were they smoking at the time they took the poll?
I don't know if they were smoking at the time. We didn't ask that question.
Yeah.
Maybe that's next week. Probably next week.
How many fingers do you see? Yeah. Right.
Probably next week we'll ask that. But what we also find is that the one category of demographic group where we have the biggest hurdle is with seniors. But we do find that when we talk to seniors about the treatment of Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, PTSD for our veterans, epileptic kids needing medicinal marijuana, that they come over in droves.
Look, it's happening, period. I mean, we started this whole podcast idea, Jene and I did, and Megan, with the idea that liberals always win. I mean, that's the name of the company that we have that literally produces this. Other than being a joke trying to, give it to people that are conservatives, the truth of the matter is that all these social issues, eventually, in time, historically, liberals do always win. The world becomes more liberal. The country becomes more liberal. We're always going to move in that direction. So you could win this November, and you're telling me that the polls showed that you probably win. But even if you didn't, you'll win the next year. It's happening, period. And a younger generation thinks this is even silly that it's a discussion anymore. They're so sure that this is what they do.
Who would have thought that Ohio, there are 4 states that have marijuana legal. One's a red state, that would be Alaska. And then the others are?
Washington State, Oregon, and Colorado, and then District of Columbia as well.
Who would have thought, Jerry, that Ohio, because I've lived in Ohio or Northern Kentucky my whole life, and you've lived in this region as well for a bunch of your life. Who would have thought that Ohio would be in that 5th position? I wouldn't have thought that. I would have picked off some more. I would have picked off New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts. Tell us how Ohio fell into the rotation so early, and who is in support of this, and who will the opposition be? What are you guys up against?
We literally about 16 months ago started talking about this. I had an idea watching the country shift, and at that time I think there were 20 some states that had medical marijuana, and it became apparent that it was inevitable. This was going to happen, and instead of just going the route of let's do medicinal and as a fig leaf, because I think everybody understands, like, look, you start with medicinal, you're going to get to personal use before too long. Just be honest. Let's be the first state. Let's return to that stance of being first to flight. Let's be the first state to have personal use and medicinal use at the same time. Let's be adults and let's have an adult conversation about this. And as we did that, we found that there was growing support for it, and the polling proved it out. We brought on the Obama data team that did all the national data dive, and they've been helping us drill down through all the voter strata to figure out where we have support, where we have opposition, and where we have neutral folks. And we're systematically going through, as we get the signatures, we'll start doing door knocks, we'll start doing phone calls, we'll start with a lot of social media. And it's really about engaging the voter. We took an off-year election, which seems crazy to a lot of people, but we took an off-year election because they're local races. And you get to have a really good, solid, face-to-face personal conversation with voters that you can't have in a gubernatorial or a presidential election cycle. Plus, those election cycles are cost prohibitive.
Let me offer some concerns on a serious note, because you mentioned this is an adult conversation, and that's great. But the reality, and I have family in Colorado, and so this actually has become a discussion, having no idea that we would be doing a podcast on this. The kids, and we can have whatever view. Oh, look, come on, it's marijuana. You know, you're not going to go out and kill someone or whatever. You know, all that kind of thing. But I venture to say, if you're a parent and you walk into your 12-year-old kid's room, and do not think for a second that if this becomes legal, the 12-year-old kid isn't going to get it. Okay, you're going to answer me and say, well, they probably already have it, whatever. But the fact. I would think as a parent, or now as a grandparent, I do, maybe I'm just showing my age, but I get a little queasy at the idea of walking into a room and my 12-year-old kid they're just puffing on smoke. And, you know.
What about alcohol down in the liquor cabinet, though?
It's going to be around.
We've got experience with that, and in most cases, parents are really pretty good. I mean, I'm not saying there's not an alcohol problem, but somehow disciplining your kids, certainly not to be drinking at home or whatever, or not, unless you have a real alcohol problem. We've kind of learned the limits on that. Most people, we kind of have learned that. This marijuana stuff is new, and if I'm a 12-year-old kid, and man, I can do it now. You know, and that's a lot of families around the dinner table are going to be dealing, well, Dad, why can't I have it? Well, you have your homework to do. Oh, man, I'll do it later. I think this is a real, not a philosophical or intellectual discussion. It is a real mom, dad, and what do you do with your kid? Because I certainly would want my kid, you know, she's grown now, or certainly my grandson, to stay away from that until he's pretty much, look, teenagers by definition use bad judgment. That's why we call them, I mean, that's a teenager, someone who uses bad judgment, you know.
Right, I remember those days.
Yeah, I'm still not out of them. So make me feel better about that.
Sure, well, in Colorado, the teenage use actually has gone down. And that's partly because once you legalize and you regulate it and you're able to drop the price of marijuana below the street price, you're able to undercut the black market. You're not going to snuff out the black market. You're not going to completely kill them. I think anybody that says that's kind of kidding themselves. But you're able to undercut them. And once you undercut the black market, you do take away that gateway effect, because the marijuana is not the gateway. The drug dealer is. And the drug dealer doesn't card kids, because they don't care how old those folks are. If they've got cash in hand, they're going to sell them marijuana or whatever else. And the problem with the gateway the drug dealer is it's opening the code on one side and saying, hey, I've got some marijuana, and then the other side I've got some OxyContin or some other harder narcotics that you can have, and boy, are you going to have fun. So you're absolutely right about being concerned about that, but once we have a regulated system where you have to be 21 to get marijuana, and they will be checking IDs, and if anybody sells to anybody underage, they go to jail. According to this constitutional amendment, it's jail for sale. You lose your license, you go to jail. It's getting really tough on that.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know that.
Balance.
That's good. All right. That's good. Yep.
Hey, thank you very much, Ian.
Thank you for having me.
James from Responsible Ohio.
Thank you.
And could we just turn the fan on in here to the smokers?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Jerry, let me introduce to you. I don't think anybody here has ever smoked marijuana, so they're catching up on a lot of this humor, I think. Casey Campbell. And by the way, first of all, Casey Campbell is the Jerry Springer podcast, Tales, Tunes, and Tomfoolery musical coordinator, and we thank you for doing that, Casey. He's part of our team. And he is our featured songwriter for the evening. And Casey, please do a song, and we're going to talk about it when you're done.
All right. The song is called Carolina. I met a girl that I swore I had loved once before. Time wore that memory away. We exchanged glances and we shared a few dances. We smoked cigarettes under my coat while it rained. Laughter became the topic of all conversation. She had a way of turning water to wine. The shadows were lifted and the flood water shifted. She cast out a line that I missed every time. She told me her name was Carolina, and her lips spoke a love so divine. With every chance taken, there would be no mistaking. We'd needed for nothing but just a little more time. Carolina, sweet Carolina. No, it sounds silly to say, but I lose myself thinking, find myself drinking from the bottom of this well that I've thrown myself down. Carolina, please don't go, for the moon has blood in its eyes, and the light shining down cuts through the clouds that burn into my bones, where your memory lies. Dear, no longer can I hold it. Tears a man apart at the seams. Said once I was found, but lost I am now to the Carolina of my dreams. I wrote this song with a couple good friends of mine, Mr. Stephen Williams and Mr. John Oakes. I didn't write about anybody in particular. We didn't write about anybody in particular. Just sort of this picture of a sad old country song we wanted to sing. So, but I always find somebody in mind. You know, you sing something long enough, you're gonna find somebody personal. So, I always send this out to that one. Everybody's got one that got away. I don't care how happy you are. Carolina, please don't go, for the moon has blood in its eyes, and the light shine down, cuts through the clouds that burn in my bones, where your memory lies, and no longer can I hold it. Tears me apart at the seams. I said once I was found, lost I am now, to the Carolina of my dreams. Oh.
Whoa.
Thank you. Thank you.
That is beautiful.
Thank you very much.
And you're talking about the one that got away. Well, we have a surprise for you. Bring it on out. No, I'm sorry.
God.
I keep
Just comes so natural.
Good luck finding her.
Well, you think it's tough to find
If they can find her, they can have her right away.
Yeah, watch Thursday's show, folks.
Hey, by the way, Jerry, this
That's amazing.
region, and Casey's an example. Every songwriter, singer we've had is unbelievable. And by the way, Casey's lining up these acts, and God bless him for putting himself into the rotation, because that is phenomenal.
Oh, well, thank you.
Keep putting yourself in. That's as good as I've heard.
That was by request. Just so you guys know, I didn't throw myself in here. Gene told me he wanted me to do this.
Absolutely. No, that is absolutely true, and he's it's fantastic. Hey, tell us a little bit about what's your background to do roots music today at your age?
Well,
Where'd you come from?
Well, I was born and raised in Alabama. I lived there until I was out of college, and then I moved up here. I worked at a cabaret theater across town in Newport.
No kidding.
Yeah, I worked at it's Shadowbox Cabaret is the name. They've moved up to Columbus since, but I did sketch comedy and rock music, and I've played music my whole life. My dad was a drummer in a country band when I was growing up.
Wow.
And sings, and so I've been singing longer than anything. Been around music for a good long while. And I moved into roots music kind of about the time I moved here is when I was really getting serious about wanting to learn guitar. And I just started finding music that means something to me. And I ended up finding all these old songwriters, and I really delved into like Woody Guthrie and guys who kind of, they spoke their mind with their guitar and a real simple voice. And something about that just really spoke to me. And I was very fortunate enough to get to know Matt Williams and Mary Williams, his wife now. They were my neighbors in Covington. They were some of the first real Cincinnati people.
And they're the owners of the Folk School Coffee Parlor.
And that's how I got involved with this whole place.
Great.
And they introduced me to the entire scene that I'm in now. And as you said, the roots-based community in Cincinnati is bar none.
Well, thank you very much for being part of our team and helping us carry this on.
Truly.
Before we ask you to take us out with that old folk standard, Hootie Ledbetter, Irene Goodnight, Jerry, I want to introduce an element that we're introducing this evening. And it's an editorialist, and it's an old baby boomer curmudgeon guy who's got some attitudes, and he's got a wonderful attitude about marijuana and marijuana reform. And it's Morrison Hendricks, and I'd like to have us hear him now.
Okay.
Hey, Jerry, it's time once again for Morrison Hendricks. He read the news today, and oh boy, the times they are a-changin' too damn fast. He's talking about his generation, he's wasted away again, he's mad as hell. He's got to get back to the garden, he's the crybaby boomer, Morrison Hendricks.
Okay, here's another little piece of my mind. Marijuana legalization. You millennials are all congratulating yourselves for how enlightened up you are. But my generation, we were there doing the front lines in this fight. You don't know the sacrifices we made. Who was it who proved to the world that smoking bananas makes you throw up? It was us. Who was it who created the myth that Puff the Magic Dragon was a song about weed? It was us. Who added 7.3% to the net worth of Ziploc bags? We did. So now a bunch of states have passed laws legalizing marijuana. And when your state decides to pass another one, just like the other one, just remember who it was who what was I talking about? Marijuana. You might be surprised to know that I don't really care which way the wind blows on this subject. I pretty much used up my lifetime allocation before most of you were even born. And by the way, I am not going to lie to you the way all the politicians do and say that when I was young, I experimented with marijuana one time. Any scientist will tell you that experiments aren't any good unless they're repeated with all the relevant data shared with your peers, who will also then replicate the experiment repeatedly. It's just science. Where was I? Marijuana. It's going to be legalized more and more places, and today's generation will never appreciate the groundbreaking work that we plowed. You know, our movement never had a Martin Luther King. Well, maybe we did, but if he had a dream, he didn't remember it. I'm Morrison Hendricks. Till next time, yours sincerely, Wasting Away.
Morrison Hendricks.
There you go.
Good to hear from you.
We got to get him more. We can get him pretty regularly on the podcast.
Have him on more. Yeah. Casey, if you'll take us out, Irene, good night.
I sure will.
We'd like everybody to sing this with us.
Well, I love Irene, Lord knows that I do. I'm gonna love her till the sea runs dry. But if she ever takes to another, then I'm gonna take morphine and die. Of course, everybody. Irene, good night. Irene, good night. Good night, Irene. Good night, Irene. I'll see you in my dreams.
Sometimes I live in the country. Sometimes I live.
You've been listening to Tales, Tunes, and Tomfoolery, sponsored by the Folk School Coffee Parlor in Ludlow, Kentucky. Thanks to Patrick Kennedy for writing our opening song, and to you for listening. Hope to see y'all again real soon.